Batman Caped Crusader, Harvey Dent is the evil side of Two-Face. Now, I really liked Caped Crusader, a few weaknesses, but I really liked when they started doing different things with the villains, right? I hated the changes in Penguin in the first episode immediately, but I got over it and I see that they wanted to just do a different take on everything, and the fact that they included Gentleman Ghost I think was such a outside the box thought, but doing something really different with Harley Quinn I thought was neat. And then I was kind of bored and disappointed that the Two-Face story was just the Two-Face story. We've seen it so many times. I'm so bored of Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face. And it was also done extremely well in Batman the Animated Series, so I didn't feel any need to see it again, not as good. But the guys on the podcast, Batman the Animated Podcast, which you should check out, which I love, and I've listened to every episode, they were talking about how there were some weird cinematography choices when Harvey was talking to himself. And we're all familiar with the Two-Face cinematography. He always needs to be looking in mirrors. He always needs to have things dividing his face. Duality being communicated through cinematography is such an obvious thing. So they were wondering why they made some of the choices they made. And it sort of put the idea in my head that maybe the creators were trying to say the evil side of Two-Face is his Harvey Dent persona. And therefore, what is his Two-Face persona? And in Caped Crusader, it's much more remorseful and introspective. And so I thought, I want to go through those episodes again, see if I can screenshot some moments that maybe reinforce this idea. And as soon as I started doing that, it really kicked off. I really think this is what they're doing. So the first screenshot is before he even takes his bandages off. So his Harvey face is the only thing exposed. His other side is hidden. And he's already calling someone a backstabbing little snake. He's already calling someone a jealous little worm. And he has this whole scene with Bruce in the restaurant. Then he's walking by himself, and you see him say, and so we are seeing Harvey's face and a muted reflection of Two-Face. And Harvey is saying, I don't deserve any of this. But you move forward, and then you see just Two-Face, and he says, that's not right. So the reflection of Two-Face is what we see when he's feeling bad, when he thinks he deserves what happened. And in this final shot, you see him talking to himself. His face is bisected. The Harvey Dent side is looking at the Two-Face side and questioning, haven't I paid for my sins? Now, the next shot does go against this. It's the only piece of counter evidence I found. But in the scene in the alley, when he's going to shoot a criminal, you see very clearly the Two-Face side is visible. Harvey Dent is hidden by the gun. You could also think of this as the Harvey Dent side is the one looking down the barrel of the gun and aiming. But I do think it's a cool shot that doesn't play into this idea that I'm building. But the number one piece of evidence does run kind of, this is one of the things I thought of when the guys on the podcast were talking about the visual choices made, the shot with the match. And I want to make one more point before exactly that. In that scene, in this screenshot that I'm showing now, look at the window and the subtle, there's an overhead light above them, which is why it's brighter on one side of the screen and darker on the other. And the sign outside creates a line in the window. So there's a good quarter of the screen that is darkened to mostly to dim the Two-Face and accentuate the Harvey Dent. That's followed by the match shot, which also has the line, as you can see in the subtitles, which I'm glad now that I have. Harvey Dent is the one that wants to kill. So Two-Face says, the other guy may not want to kill you. Then he blocks his Two-Face side and says, but I do. So Harvey Dent is the one that wants to commit the murder. Okay. This climactic shot from the first of the 2 episodes, I have to put in video because it's a subtle thing, but it's so clear that Two-Face doesn't want to commit the murder. Two-Face is the one who reconsiders, and Harvey Dent is the one who says he wants the 2-for-1 special and is going to shoot a fucking kid.
You are one brave kid. But I never could resist a 2-for-1 special.
I mean, that's so good. It's the Two-Face side that says, you are one brave kid. And it's Harvey Dent who says, but I could never resist a 2-for-1 special, and is going to try and shoot a man through his child. That's so cool. Then, last thing from that episode, when he's asking Batman for help, and he's talking about himself in a second person or in a distanced way again, he says, I can't control him. You gotta lock me up. But that's the Two-Face side, and the Harvey Dent side is covered by his hand. And there's just a second shot of that as well, where clearly he's hiding Harvey Dent and referring to Harvey Dent as he. Then we get into the second of the 2 episodes, Savage Night. So the same theme continues in the beginning of the episode, but I was more excited to get to how does it end? How do we talk about Harvey Dent's death? Like, what are the things there? So there is this little bit where when he's talking to Bruce, the side that he's showing Bruce as he's talking about how this isn't really justice is his Two-Face side. The scene when he's talking to Barbara, actually, at the very beginning of the episode, I think you see Big Bad Harv come out. So he's mostly got his Two-Face side to Barbara, and when he starts getting angry, he turns more and more of his Harvey side to her. And then at the end of that shot, we just see Harvey yelling at Barbara Gordon. There's one cool moment here where he's in the backseat of the car with Flass and Bullock, and the first shot you see Two-Face saying that they're corrupt cops, and then he turns his Harvey side to him and says, but I thought we were still friends. So Harvey's corrupt side thinks that he was friends with the corrupt cops, and his Two-Face side just thinks they're corrupt. But then I think there's a neat bit here where the scheming Harvey Dent side is trying to get himself out of trouble by playing Bullock and Flask against each other. One quick shot here before we get to the finale. I just think it's worth noting that it's his Two-Face side that's attached to Barbara. His free hand is Harvey Dent, and his free hand is the one where he's going to punch a woman. So, Harvey's death. I think it's worth pointing out, it's interesting that he has his Two-Face side to Flass, who's going to shoot him. So you can think of it as Two-Face sees that Barbara is in danger and puts himself in the way. Although we are seeing the Harvey Dent side of him. Then it's the Two-Face side that's laying on Barbara, that's again in contact with her, that's attached to her. And then we get the very end, the death of Two-Face, I think is really interesting, because Barbara says, Harvey, why did you do that? And Two-Face says, damned if I know. So Harvey Dent, who was asked, doesn't know why he did it, because it's Two-Face that did it. It's his scarred side that made the sacrifice, and the Big Bad Harv side doesn't understand it. That is my evidence for the idea that Caped Crusader, Two-Face, Harvey Dent is the evil side. Don't know how to end a video.
Harvey Dent.
Can we trust him?